So today I have Sergio Avedian, um, longtime rideshare driver, longtime contributor to the Rideshare Guy, and probably one of the first contributors to the Rideshare Guy, to be honest. And thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure and honor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, originally what I wanted to do today was go back into the discussion that Harry and I had, because when I was listening to it a few months later, and I knew at the time when we were recording it that, of course we were going to hit things wrong. You just can't guess things that are, we did our best, but it's kind of funny how far off we were on some of those, you know what I mean? But anyway, I was thinking, and I talked to you about this, that, I was going to go back and revisit this, but I think that there's a better path to take that'll still get us the same end result and maybe be a little different and more unique in getting there. But yeah, so can we just walk through from when you met Harry and started doing the work for the Rideshare Guy?
Gosh, sure. As you said, I've been a driver and a passenger, by the way, on both platforms, Uber and Lyft, for close to 5 years, maybe a little bit over 5 years. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to rideshare or any kind of gig for that matter. I used to be an avid reader of the Rideshare Guy, Harry's blog. And so, as far as I was concerned, some of his articles were so offline, as when it came to Uber and Lyft, that I would basically leave comments and practically became the biggest pain on his side for a while, because I was out there driving was not true at all. But long story short, after about a year or so of me leaving comments, non-complimentary, by the way, on some of his articles, and in the old days, by the way, Harry didn't have too many contributors. Like now, I think there's like 5 or 6 of us. Because he's expanded into YouTube and podcasting as well.
And you're talking about the 5 or 6 who do it on a regular basis, though, because he has all kinds of people contribute.
Yeah, all kinds of people contribute on different areas. Like he would have a couple of people for the food delivery part of the gig economy. I would do the rideshare part. He has a growing YouTube channel, which is great, and he has a couple of people doing videos on that platform. But initially it was basically the blog, and YouTube channel wasn't getting that much of a traction. So I would just focus on the blog, and then he would have these couple of writers who would say, things that to me, it looked like they were not factual. So anyway, I would leave these comments, and I think Harry got tired of me, and and ultimately, he said, let's just meet and talk about this. And then sure enough, we did. And then initially, actually, his first idea was, let's do a podcast. Since you're such a hotshot, you're making all this money driving, more money than anybody I know. Let's do a podcast. So I did a podcast with him. It was maybe a year and a half or 2 before the pandemic. And I guess, it hit some nerves, or, and some people listened to it. And then the relationship continued as far as, him asking me, if I could write some articles with my driving experiences. And I said, sure, no problem. And then it became a regular kind of weekly kind of article kind of gig for me, side gig, really. Honestly, I don't think anybody writes anything as an independent contractor for money, as we all know. But then, I just wanted my voice to get out there, and what better way than Harry's blog, who's got I don't know, probably 100,000 subscribers at the moment. And he's got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube now.
I saw
So,
that.
you know, it's a good medium to get my voice out. And my voice always has been, you know, as a driver's advocate. It wasn't, you know, because I'm out there, I'm doing rides, I'm feeling what the other drivers are feeling, as opposed to, you know, we discussed this with you before. You know, a lot of the stuff I read in the media, honestly, are two things. Either they're just copying each other, cutting and pasting and changing the words of the topic, or when Uber and Lyft are about to announce something, their PR departments will call, you know, Bloomberg, or they'll call, you know, New York Times or whatever they are. And sure enough, they'll just, you know, they'll feed him something, and then the riders will go with it. Now, is it good for the driver? Is it bad for the driver? You know, no mention of any of that. So I just wanted to just kind of change the atmosphere a little bit, you know, because I mean, without Uber, well, without drivers, we know very well there is no Uber, there is no Lyft, there is, without the delivery guys, you know, taking food or a cup of Starbucks to somebody, there's no DoorDash. I mean, these companies can say all they want that, you know, they're the best thing since sliced bread, but then there's somebody's got to do the work ultimately. Yeah. Until they get these little robots delivering all this stuff and people delivering stuff. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, it hit a nerve. And then my articles used to get a lot more comments pretty much than any other writer on the blog. And because the drivers kind of gravitated towards, you know, look, there's this guy that just knows what he's saying, and not only knows what he's saying, he's talking our language. He's talking, you know,
you're one of them. You're one of us.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I'm voicing their frustrations, and then, you know, and I'm also voicing when, you know, it wasn't just like pound Uber and Lyft to death. It was just the fact that, you know, things are not going the right way for the driver. And so, you know, with this in mind, I'll just give you a little bit of a history of where things were with Uber, how Uber started. So, you know, I've been a driver since, let's say, 2016, middle of 2016. I had a cabbie friend of mine in LA for a long time. He's been a cabbie for 20 years probably. And, you know, we talk, and he said one day, you know, I quit being a cabbie. I started this gig. You know, I'm doing this thing called Uber. I'm like, I know what Uber means in German because I speak German. And I go, what is this thing? He goes, well, I just drive drunks around from bars to their homes, you know, and then sometimes they fall asleep in my car. I have to wake up. I'm like, okay, I don't think this gig is for me. And he says, but look how much money I'm making doing this thing. And I was like, okay, let's see. So he was literally putting down like $2,500 to $3,000 or more some weeks, not months, weeks. And I said, how's this possible? He goes, that's because they pay me $3.50 a mile. So Uber in Los Angeles, they came to Los Angeles July 4th of 2010, and they used to pay $3.50 a mile to the driver. And with a $5 base fee, make like a drop fee, like you would have when you get in a cab, you know, they drop the meter and there's a starting point. So, I mean, he would do like 3-mile rides for like $50. And I was like, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. How is this happening? And then that's how Uber started in LA. And, but sure enough, let's quickly fast forward to, where are we now? 2021, not too long, 11 years. You know, in LA now, drivers make 60 cents a mile and 21 cents a minute.
Right. Not a good pay to those who are coming on who have not been in this as long as you and I. This is not, he's not giving out a good number here.
No, trust me, whoever's listening, and
if they don't already know, I mean, we're talking like this is the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, 60 cents a mile and 21 cents a minute is not something you could write home about.
Right.
I mean, plus
To be
as we
honest,
all
I could care less about the time. I just want, I would rather just a simple system of just get the number back up.
where the time kicks in, Steve, is that in LA traffic, right? So you would, let's say you're targeting short rides that day. You just want to do short rides and
Yeah.
then take advantage of a quest or a consecutive ride bonus. Honestly, sometimes a 3-mile ride in LA will take like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And 21 cents a minute is like, what is that? That's like $8. And then the gas and expense, basically you're at 60 and 21, you're losing money. If they don't throw you some massive quests or some
And
consecutive,
this is for Uber X, right?
this is for Uber X. And
Okay.
then I'm also on the Lyft platform. I drive Lyft. My rides on Uber and Lyft go, let's say 6-to-1 ratio, definitely more Uber. Lyft pays 80 cents a mile and 12 cents a minute. So those are the LA rates. 12 cents a minute. Imagine you're stuck going from, I don't know, Santa Monica to LAX and on Lincoln, which is a disaster at all times of the day. It's 35 minutes and 12 cents a minute. I'm like, this is just not making sense. And
so
look,
before you even say anything more, I gotta say this, because you're sitting here saying how bad the 12 is, but honestly, we used to get, everywhere was paid better, but when we went down here, it's fit for Uber X, it's 59 cents a mile and 11 cents a minute.
oh my God, your guys are
And
worse.
this is Denver, which is now almost 800,000 people. I mean, we've grown at a tremendous rate. You probably know this.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I
I know Phoenix is lower. Like, some cities in Arizona are lower than we are.
But that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because we used to be pretty close. I mean, it's the cost of living here in Denver. I know that this will blow your mind, but it's pretty close to LA and San Francisco. It really is not cheap here at all.
Yeah. Well, you know how expensive LA has become, right?
Yeah.
From the rents,
yeah, I guess I pull that back because LA is not even livable anymore.
No, I honestly not. But if I didn't have 2 kids, I'd probably move out yesterday. But I'm stuck
Right. I meant like in a way, like people can't come to LA anymore. You can't go there and like start a life. It's
no. And look, the largest expense in a driver's life, as we know, is gasoline. So $5 a gallon. I'm like, come on now. And I know there are a couple of apps out there that can, get you maybe a little bit of a discount, but hey, what is that discount going to do? I mean, you're still driving the same miles in the same minutes. It doesn't make any difference. So that's the history. The history of Uber and Lyft have been, I do write a lot about this, and I mention it jokingly, obviously, that there are 3 things guaranteed in life: is death, taxes, and Uber and Lyft cutting rates on the drivers. So,
I think with the rate I just told you, there is no more cutting. You
think so?
can't cut that anymore. I mean, 56. You and I were talking about this yesterday. 50. They're at the threshold of the mileage deduction.
Oh, by the way, well, here's a surprise. Here's a shocking news for you. Okay. So you would think, 50, 60s, they can't cut anymore, right? All right. So I haven't driven. I was idle for 2 years when the pandemic hit. I didn't drive at all. And even before the pandemic, I was down to maybe 8 to 10 hours a week when there was surge that I could maximize that 60 cents into something reasonable. But I would write, when I write articles, I want to be factual. I would take screenshots, so these are real. I mean, I'm just out there grinding and I'm doing my best, and this is the best I can do. And truly, I consider myself probably one of the top 5 drivers in LA, because I know every trick in the book. I know where to be, when to be. I treat it as a business. I do my spreadsheets, unlike 99% of the drivers out there. I'm not out there for public service. Okay. I'm not public transport. It's my car. It's my private time. I need to make money. Otherwise, why am I out here? I'm not out here It's not about loyalty. It's not about anything. I'm trying to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time.
Yeah,
I wish all drivers,
in fact, the loyalty has been beyond broken to
yeah,
never be repaired, and not by you or me, but the company. I mean, it's
without a doubt. So this move, by the way, from $3.50 a mile to 60 cents did not take place, in 3 months. It took 11 years. And now, okay, you can cut the rates, whatever, but like a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned 60 cents is the bottom. I don't think we can go lower. For each time I said that, starting at $1.20, I would have more money now. So don't be sure. Now
I just don't know how you would. I mean, I don't even know how legally you go underneath the mileage
Oh,
deduction.
I'll tell you how. So I used to do quite a bit of airport rides, right? Because LAX is the second busiest airport in the country.
I did here too.
Right.
So
Yeah, right behind Atlanta's Hartfield Jackson. They took over O'Hare, a couple of years ago. So as horrible as LAX is as an airport, the horseshoe, it just kills every driver, whatever. So I try to avoid it now. So I set my destination filters in a way that I don't want to go to LAX. I don't want to pick up at LAX. I don't. The other day they had given me a consecutive ride bonus of 3 rides for $30. I'm like, okay, that's $10 extra. All right, I'm gonna do it. Okay. So, and I made a mistake not to set my destination filter away from LAX. So guess what happened? I ended up at LAX. And I dropped off, and sure enough, immediately I got a passenger at the waiting lot at LAX. I'm like, okay, that was my third, by the way. So
like a rematch. You didn't go into the
almost like
staging lot.
Yeah, almost like a rematch.
Okay.
Because we used to have a staging lot. Now we have this thing called LA Exit, and passengers have to go out of their way, get in a shuttle and schlep their baggage and their kids and their strollers and get on the shuttle, get off the shuttle, get in my car, get out of my car. I mean, look, I think honestly though, I think it made things better.
Yeah. I've been out there many times. I agree with you. That is a tough airport.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was built in 1960s for the Olympics. I mean, for the Olympics or World Cup, one or the other. And 74, I think, and they revamped it in the 70s. Now there's been construction for 10 years there now, never ending construction. And then, Uber and Lyft used to just pick up and drop off at departures in a little horseshoe. Yeah, honestly, to go through that horseshoe, I would dread every time I had to drop off somebody at American or International because it's deep end of the horseshoe. And I'm not kidding. It would take me 45 minutes just in that horseshoe to get in and out of the horseshoe. So now they moved the pickups to this location, so it makes it a little bit easier. It's probably harder for the passengers, but it's easier for the drivers. So long story short, I do a pickup. I slide it over. The guy's going to a swanky hotel in Santa Monica. 6-mile ride. I'm like, okay, whatever. There was a little bit of a surge, nothing major. I just wanted to get finish my consecutive ride bonus. All right, I just finished the ride. But I have a habit of every time I finish a ride, I look at the passenger's receipt on Uber. Lyft doesn't give you that. Lyft lost that transparency. I don't know, like 2 years ago. They hide it from you, and then they show you a total like a week later, which is garbage. But it is what it is. But Uber shows it to you right away. So I finished the ride. I slide it over. The guy tipped me like $6-8. He was a New Yorker. And so I look at my receipt. It says, okay, this, mind you, traffic jam on Lincoln, 7 miles took me like 42 minutes to do. I'm like, okay, but I had a decent quest. I had the CRB or consecutive ride bonus. So the ride came to me, it paid me like $30. Without those, it was like 12 for 40 minutes of work and burning gas, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be 12 because 40 minutes times 21 plus 60 minutes, 60 cents times 7 miles, it should be more than that. Guess what? I didn't even know. You said the fares cannot go lower? You know what pickups are?
I'm not daring it. I'm just
No. Do you know what pickups pay? Pickups pay at LAX now?
I have no idea.
30 cents a mile on UberX.
Speaking of that, whatever happened to? And I know it was short lived, or maybe it was
30
even
cents a
tried
mile.
a couple times, but that actual setting your own fare.
Oh, well, that was, I wrote quite a bit about that when AB5 was coming around and these
Yeah,
guys were
but I mean,
like
like
scared.
how did that go? And from your eyes, from your perspective, I mean, like
It
how
didn't
did?
go well. It didn't go well. You know why? Because drivers are not a united group.
No,
There's always a knucklehead in there that's going to underbid you every single time.
that was always my concern, is that this will
Yeah,
just be horrible.
look, I know what a ride should cost, man. Right? I know how my car takes $5 to $6 an hour to run. That includes everything. These guys don't have a clue what it takes to run a car. I don't care if your car is a beater and it depreciated to zero. You still have some costs, right?
Yeah.
So I would log, like, let's say I would turn on my app and I would get a request. Let's say it would be like a ride I live in the suburbs of LA. So, but then I'm like 10 miles from the epicenter, which is a big advantage for me. So this ride was like from literally next to my house to Santa Monica, which is a 22, 23 mile ride, which is going to take me without traffic about 35 minutes. Okay, I priced my ride at like $45. 2 miles a ride, $2 a mile, a little bit more, less than cabs, reasonable. Uber will probably take another 20 from the passenger. $60, I think, is reasonable for the passenger. That's the way I'm thinking. I got outbid, whatever you want to call it, within 30 seconds. So I'm like, who would do that for less than $40? And somebody did. So that did not work well. That basically they were smart doing that, by the way. They pitted drivers against each other.
Of course they did.
You know what I mean? That was the whole idea. That's like, okay, well, if there's a smart one in there, he's going to get underbid every single time. Because there is some fool out there who doesn't know math is going to underbid it just because they think, see, this is the problem with a lot of drivers these days. They think if the wheels are not turning with a passenger in the car, they're not making money. They're not thinking, well, I could be losing money. Because that's the other side of the story.
Absolutely.
They don't think about it. So it didn't work for me. I didn't like it. Do I like this?
To be honest, I don't think it was ever set up to work. I think it was set up for failure.
I think it's such a complicated system, but look, Uber.
I say that because of AB5, where it was happening, all of that, and that, they wanted to show, okay, well then fine, you need to be a true independent contractor platform and allow these people the autonomy to be able to set their own rates. But they knew what a joke that would be. And I think they knew what you and I are talking about, that people are just going to undercut to no end.
Well, the thing with AB5 was, once AB5 passed, became law, we both know Uber and Lyft both ignored the law completely. Like they didn't do anything about it.
Right. They even threatened to leave the state. I remember.
Yeah, right. Good luck. I mean, both of them, Uber's 5 largest markets are New York, San Francisco, Sao Paulo, Brazil, LA, and one more. You're not leaving anywhere. You're California, basically, not LA. You're not leaving anywhere. You're not, okay. You can say all you want. I'm going to leave. Okay. See you later. Bye-bye. Somebody would have replaced them within 10 minutes. So, to Uber's credit, when AB5 passed, overnight, they said, well, look, we're complying with AB5. We're going to show the driver the destination of the passenger now. I'm like, wow, great. Okay. Also, we're going to bring back the surge multiplier instead of the penny surge. I call it the flat rate surge. They brought that back. It almost felt like this is just too good to be true. And on the other hand, of course, under the surface, they spent $220 million on Prop 22 between Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and a couple other gig companies to pass this resolution called Prop 22, which would have eliminated AB5 altogether. Well, guess what? They overwhelmingly won because they outspent the AB5 backers by, I think, like 40-1. So, of course, when Prop 22 showed up, guess what? no more destination on anybody. You're not seeing destination now. You're not getting,
Yeah, what parts of Prop 22 are actually in existence?
two parts.
Like
Okay,
of the initial what was it was supposed to be, what really is in existence?
what's in existence is that they have a 120% of minimum wage guarantee
Okay.
on both platforms. So if you're
For driving time.
for active time, yes.
Okay.
So Uber calls it active time, quote unquote,
Right.
and Lyft calls it book time. So,
right. But regardless, when you're with passenger or on your way to get them,
passengers in the car. Yes. So there's no unlike New York. New York had some other things that they didn't like. Yeah, in New York, you could be actually just driving around. So there's three phases of every ride, right? Phase one is you just sitting there with your app on. Phase two is on your way to the passenger, and phase three is when you have the passenger in the car to go into your destination.
Right.
So only on phase three, this 120% of minimum wage applies. So let's say you are such a horrible driver. You have no idea what the heck is. You have no idea what's going on. You basically jump on every garbage ping that Uber and Lyft sends you. You didn't make more than $12 an hour. I think LA's minimum wage now is 14. I'm not sure. But somewhere in there.
No strategy. You're just grabbing everything.
Yeah, just grabbing it and going at it. And now once in a while you'll hit a jackpot. But then let's say you made less than $14 an hour. So after 2 weeks are over, Uber and Lyft will send you a summary of what you made by driving for them, right? So with Prop 22, there are two things that they give you. One is they will pay you 120% of minimum wage if you didn't hit that threshold in their book, right? Which is $14. So, and they will give you 30 cents a mile pay or increase in pay above and beyond the 120%. So that's what Prop 22 brought around. Mm-hmm. Also, not free healthcare, but there is a stipend that they give you, and then depending on the hours that you drive, so you have to go like over, I think on Uber is 680 hours in a quarter to then giving you a $680 to go towards your healthcare insurance premiums that you may currently have, or you have to apply through one of the companies that's approved by them. Okay.
So that's what I was going to ask you. So the stipend does have to go against Uber approved.
Either that, or if you do have insurance, you can take that cash and apply it to your own insurance company.
Okay.
So, and the money, and we know what health insurance rates are these days. So yeah. It probably covers some of it or most of it, let's say. It doesn't cover all of it. But then I think for me, like Uber and Lyft both say their driver base is 80% of them are part-timers. You are never going to hit that stipend in a quarter,
right?
For 80% of them,
right? 85% or 25 hours or less,
max.
Right. I mean, I know that's that, right? But I mean,
yeah, this is for a quarter, right? So I mean, I've been driving the last 6 weeks. I think in 6 weeks I hit like 59 hours or something. I have like 360 to go. And that ends in December 1, and the clock kicks in again on January 1 to March 1. So they do it quarterly. So I'm like, that's not going to bother me. I mean, it's not going to get to me. I'm not going to get there. So you have to be like a full-time driver. So basically, these things were done more with the full-time drivers in mind, which we know are out there. And they, full-timers are maybe 15% of the group, but they do 80% of the rides. And, they grind out there, man. There are grinders out there that I know. These guys.
God I mean, if you're gonna be out there doing it, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, and if the only excuse that I'll give you is if you're new that day, even then you should be learning immediately out of the gate.
Yeah.
You should be taking in everything. Don't worry about looking things up at first. Just turn it on, get to work. figure
Yep.
it out, and then start looking up the more detailed things. But yeah, it blows my mind how, I have strategies, you have strategies. It blows my mind how some people just turn the app on, and I feel like sometimes they don't even want to get a ping.
Well, I honestly, we talked about this couple yesterday, and I did a survey, informal survey, but my own survey, um, of going to the LAX holding lot when we had the LAX holding lot, which before the pandemic. Officially, I would pass on my Rideshare Guy cards, and I said, "May I speak to you while you're waiting for a ride that may or may not show up for the next 2 hours?" First of all, I go, "Why are you here?" He goes, "I'm just taking a break and waiting for a ride. But you may not get a ride here. It's like Tuesday at like 11 a.m. You know that, right?" I mean, I could understand if you're at the holding lot a Sunday at like 11 p.m. where all the airplanes are landing and you're going to get some surge rides out of here, right? So he goes, "No, it's okay." Okay, all right. So I did this survey, and it's on the RSG blog. I was shocked from the answers I got from these people. I talked to 50 Uber drivers and 50 Lyft drivers. I mean, that's not a huge number, but it's big enough to get an idea of what's happening out there.
Yeah.
Close to 85% to 90% of them said, "I'll just turn the app on and go." I go, "Okay, do you have a strategy? Like when do you deploy your DF strategies? A few of them would say, "What's DF?" I'm like, "Okay." So I'm talking to a newbie. I'm saying, I go, "How long have you been doing this?" He goes, "Oh, 3 years." "You've been doing this for 3 years and you don't know what a destination filter is?" So I'm like, okay. So I think the biggest thing in this industry, in the rideshare part of the industry, is education of the driver. But do you think Uber and Lyft want me and you as a driver? Of course not.
No. But they also want to make sure that the steady stream of drivers is coming in like it used to.
Well, that
And that's, in fact, that's something, obviously we'll get to here in just a second, because you're making money right now, and there's not enough drivers out there. Yes. So right now, yes, they do want us, but I hear you. If there was the normal onboarding of like 10 million too many daily, then yeah, of course they don't want us, because we'll make problems.
Well, they don't want us because I'm taking advantage of every loophole that I know of to increase my earnings, as opposed to just aimlessly driving out there accepting every ping. So they don't want me and you, but what they want is they want these guys who are happy with having some extra cash in their pocket, irregardless of if they're making money or not. So, which is, look, and the majority of the drivers out there are like that. There are some pros that, game the system or whatever the heck you need to do. Look, man, I'm out there for me. Right. I am not out there for Uber. I am not out there for Lyft. I'm not out there for the passenger, which I'm never going to see again, most likely, because I've done 5,000 rides. I think I've given a ride to the same passenger twice. So the algorithm doesn't match you with the same passenger anyway. So to me, I'm there to make money, just like I would be out there if I was flipping burgers at McDonald's. I'm there to make money. I'm not there to just kind of drive myself to death. These guys that I've spoken to, a huge majority of them were, "I'm retired. If I make $100 today, I'm happy." And I'm like, yeah, but I go, why? I would show them my numbers, and I go, "These are not real anyway." Right? I go, "What do you mean they're not real? They're on the Uber app. You think I'm just hacking the Uber app and photoshopping my numbers just to talk to you?" And they would be like, "Yeah, nobody hits these numbers. You just got lucky." I would show them week after week after week. They'd be like earning $12. And I'm talking pre-pandemic, which things were horrible. That was the ugly part of the century for rideshare. And they, week after week, my numbers would be double his, double. And he goes, "How do you do this?" I go, "Well, there is a way to do this. You just go read this blog, and, I can teach you." And because to me, that's what's lacking, that now, unfortunately, though, I know this, and RSG did surveys, and 80% of drivers quit doing rideshare in less than 8 months. That's a number. That's a massive number.
Here in the United States.
Yes.
You know what I was finding kind of interesting is the London situation with the TFL,
Yeah.
because I I don't want government intervention. I don't want regulations, but I
Me
don't
neither.
but I
Yeah.
don't think that I don't think there's a way to completely avoid them forever. But I do, one thing that I was really kind of recently taken by was that when you get that, first of all, you have to pay to get the London TFL certification, and it's kind of a decent amount of money. I mean, you're actually going to spend some time. You have deep background checks, all kinds of things go on.
Yeah.
But then when you get it, you literally have a badge around your neck with an RF reader.
Yeah.
So if you get caught without that, I was reading about this, it's £500 fine, which is 650 American dollars, somewhere around there, So,
Yeah.
but in your badge too, it has that RF reader. So when somebody comes up to the car, like we have check the child lock, say my name, all these dumb campaigns that never work. And like over there, their app will tell you, like, yes, the RF reader is within reach and that is the car. Like, and they don't have the murders and the crime that we do with,
Yeah.
but it's that kind of single entity thing. And I was having this discussion with somebody else where they're like, right, but that's called training and Uber can't do that. I said, exactly. Uber can't do that.
Well, Uber doesn't want to do that.
Right, but I mean, like, it's funny. Like, if you want to drive Bolt, Ola, Uber over there, whatever you want to do, you have to go get one of these TFLs, and then you can drive all of them.
Well, the same thing is happened in Canada about before the pandemic. And Uber basically said, we're not even going to try it out here because they put such stringent laws to onboard drivers.
Right. And
Okay?
I know what comes behind that comes the unions, and that's not what I want either.
That's not a good thing either. But I'll tell you one thing. You know, initially it was the wild, wild west, right? Now, I mean, my stats, I know more numbers that I care for to know about this subject. Uber does 15 million rides a day globally. 15 million. Okay. This is an astronomical number. So out of 15 million, if you don't have good background checks, if you don't have some of these stringent laws out there, you're going to keep reading about these rapes and murders. And it goes both ways, by the way. A lot of Uber drivers get hurt. A lot of Uber drivers get killed. So,
yeah. And that's what I was joking about with somebody from London was I was like, they're like, well, because actually they didn't know we didn't have such a thing. And I was like, well, we don't have a TFL, or, our TNCs don't do any kind of regulation. They're like, well, how do you get checked? I'm like, this really weak app called Checker.
Yeah. And Checker was founded by Travis's buddy, right? TK's buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is when you pay for something that cheap, that's what you're going to get for a result.
Well, yeah, exactly. You get what you pay for. Exactly. So, now let's talk a little bit about, for whatever time we have left, and then we'll split it into two things. Okay. Where I think things are now and where I think things are going to go. I'll take that for, I'll take it like from 3 points of view: the driver, the passenger, and the companies themselves, right? Because as I said, I'm a passenger on both platforms as well. So let's take the driver side first. I didn't drive for 2 years. Uber and Lyft threw me some ridiculous bonuses, and I know with my strategies I can maximize those and make some cash. At the moment, and I don't want to sound like Pollyanna, but unequivocally, okay. Now, right before when I first started, the first thing I did was I went to uberpeople.net, a couple of those websites, and I found myself a couple of mentors in LA. I hadn't even turned the car on yet, okay. And I bought them lunch, And these were savvy drivers. And I met with them in person. And I said, teach me this gig. What do you do that makes you so successful? And sure enough, they taught me a whole bunch. So when I went out there, I started on the right foot as opposed to some
You know,
jackass driving around aimlessly.
I have to say one thing there. When I started with Lyft. And then I went to Uber. And actually, we were forced to do that. You had to go to somewhere and meet
Yes,
a
yes, I
person.
remember that. I remember that.
And this was 2014, and I had to go like to a park that was near my house and
Yeah,
meet a guy who was
yeah,
then, and then he was available to me. He would give me a
yeah.
card, and he's like, if you need me, but he was just like he was probably working a tenth as hard as me. You could tell this guy
Yeah,
just didn't care at all. He was like,
yeah, yeah.
whatever,
He's
dude.
just sitting there. Yeah, he's like your driver coach, or he's like your
But he
whatever,
was
right?
even giving me bad advice. I'm like, so what do I, because I'm thinking this is gonna, I was actually like prepped for it. I'm not, I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, this is gonna be helpful. And like he was like, you can just sit at home and just, it's awesome. You can just take what you want, not. And I'm like,
yeah.
dude, this is
No,
you don't
these
sound
two
like you don't
guys.
sound like the life coach I need right
Yeah. No, those guys. Yeah, I went through one of those guys too, and then I already because I started with Uber first, and then pretty much when that guy walked into my car, and I was already applying a lot of the stuff from Uber to Lyft, and I go, I don't need you, buddy. I go, you can go to the next guy, right? So, but I made sure that my two guys were veterans and they knew what they were doing. So
now. Right.
from the get-go, I was making, I would say, look, this is not a gig that you can learn overnight. As much as people say, yeah, it's easy, just turn the app on and go, it is not that easy. If you want to make money, it is that easy. If you want to just pay bills and you beat your car to a pulp and then you're good to go, 5 years later, you have nothing and pay your bills and move on. This is not like, for me, it wasn't like a short-term cash flow, problem that I needed to close a hole and all that stuff. So I wanted to make money.
Yeah.
So initially, I started making maybe, I'm talking like 6 years ago now when the rates were like $1.15 a mile and 40 cents a minute. Surge was plentiful. There were no 12 cars on top of each other like ants at every corner before saturation, obviously. And the most of
I
it
was
was,
gonna say that in that 2014 era when they onboarded me, I was bartending at a bar across from Coors Field. Heavy volume. I was making really good money, and whenever I would work Uber or Lyft, I would make the same amount of money. And I
yeah,
knew that when I signed up, I was like on a 90-10 split or whatever it was, and that's how
yeah,
they worded it. But I
yeah,
didn't. I gotta say, like nowadays, we were talking about you need to keep records, all that. To be honest, then I didn't care because my payouts were so big every night.
yeah.
I was just like, I don't give a crap because this is crazy. I'm
Well,
making the same money as I do at the bar.
yeah, but what I did was the only reason I kept it was just to have an idea if I can improve to my two mentors level because they were pulling down $50 an hour or more. And they would show me their weekly income. It'd be like 3 grand. Some weeks they were doing $60 an hour. So I started right off the bat. I was at like 30, 35, which is good money, right? But I wasn't satisfied with that. I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to get to their level. I did get to that level, but it took me like a year and a half to get to that level because it's not, there is such little nuances that you have to figure out as a driver to get there. And sure enough, I got there and, making 50, 60 bucks, 2,500 bucks a week, literally with shits and giggles, right?
Yeah.
40-hour weeks, nothing major, drive when there is demand, knew all the tricks of the trade. And I'm like, 2,500 bucks, that's like 10 grand. And then, take my gas, take my depreciation, take my insurance. I mean, I was like netting stupid money for doing really just driving around. And then, of course, the price cuts came and, the pandemic hit and stopped driving. So let's say, I'm vaccinated, I wear my mask, whatever, but still there's a chance of me catching the disease. So on a minimal basis, the other thing is I had missed writing. I really do. I love writing. So I was like, okay, they sent me a couple of stupid bonuses and I'm like, let me see if I can make 500 bucks in 10 hours, get out there. And sure enough, the first week I got out there for Uber, 20 rides, 10 hours, $620. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's what's going on. I was making this kind of money when I first started and became a pro driving in LA. I'm like, I gotta be lucky this time, because Uber algorithm probably threw me all the juicy rides and they want to pump me up so I can keep coming back. You know what I mean? But I was like, okay, so next week Uber sends me another 250 cash quest. Plus the city is lit up like, the Red Sea, and surge is plentiful. I know where to go, what to do. With all that, second week, sure enough, again, $60 an hour. I'm like, hold on a second, man. I go, this is as good as it got before the pandemic. And I'm just going to keep doing and writing an article and put it into my daughter's college fund. This is super.
Right.
So after that, of course, 2 weeks later, Uber figured out, okay, wait a minute, this guy, we're losing money on this guy. This guy knows what he's doing. They cut my quest from 20 to 250 down to 24.90. I'm like, I don't care about your quest. I still know what I'm doing. But then, sure enough, Lyft got jealous that I wasn't driving for them. They sent me 24.250. I go, okay, here's more free money. So my motto nowadays is show me the money, I'll drive for you. You don't show me the money, my car is in the garage. And I think a lot of drivers are kind of deploying those kind of, strategies, maybe not strategies, but their attitudes have changed, because they figured, I'm not going to fight for crumbs you're leaving on the table. If I can make, forget $60 an hour. Nobody's going to make $60 an hour. I have proof screenshots, but
maybe during some event or some
maybe
given random
Halloween, whatever, right? But look, most drivers, we know the averages. They make anywhere between $12 and $17 an hour on both platforms. Okay, gross.
Right.
If due to the shortage of drivers and pandemic, whatever, if your income went up to $30 an hour, that's good money, right? Yeah. So go out there and drive now until the party ends, because we know the party will end, So that's my opinion when it comes to the driver's side. Right now is as good as, if you want to get into it, do what I did, go find a mentor. I'm sure there's Facebook and all these places, groups, go find a mentor and get some advice, and then get out there, and you can make 25 to $30 an hour, which is going to be a lot more than flipping burgers at McDonald's. That's it, period.
But Sergio, I gotta say that, when the pandemic hit, like, I know a lot of drivers who, like me, maybe not totally there, but they were 15, 20,000 rides under their belt. And within a day, they switched over to delivery or shift or whatever they're playing with now, and all these other things. And they never came back. But these were good drivers who, and I mean, I do feel like, and I, this is one of the things that Harry and I did talk about the last time that I don't think we saw eye to eye on, is that I don't think it's going to die like it was pre-pandemic. It was already a dead thing, but I don't think that delivery space will hold up forever.
No, it's not. It's not, because I have, a few friends who have been doing deliveries during the pandemic, and now their incomes are down 50%.
Right. Because, I mean, on top of these companies just being crazy lately.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And their tips are down, their delivery orders are down. And now,
there's 1.3 or 1.35 million Door Dashers in this country.
Yeah, figure
that out. How many do we
right?
need?
Yeah. Well, just like 100%, just like pre-pandemic, right? There were close to 3 million rideshare drivers in the country. How many do we need? I mean, I'm telling you, I used to drive.
Well, a lot of, I think that for you and I, we know that is just, you just kind of, you'd be like, crap, a lot of people are on right now, but you just had to wait it out a little bit or move your spot. I mean, like, most people would pack it in and go home.
Yeah, well, some of them did. But then, what happened is that towards the end, when I was just driving to do research and write articles, I always turn my passenger app on to see how many ants are around me. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, man, it was like ridiculous. It was like eight, and then they always put 8. I'm sure there's more. There were 8 Lyft and 8 Uber cars literally within my grasp. And I'm like, this is way too many cars. So I know this for a fact, because as I keep my numbers, when I first started, my utilization rate, meaning how much time I was driving passengers around, was close to 85%. And then the 15% came because I needed to take a break. I mean, there was just demand through the roof. I could have driven 24 hours straight without taking a break.
That's
In
that's
2000,
always how this market's been, even
yeah,
through bad pay and whatnot. I mean, dude, I could turn on, and I mean, yes, I might have a 20-minute patch, but other than that, I mean, and I wasn't taking everything either. I had strategies, I had fishing
yeah,
holes, I had places I knew what to do, and I still could
absolutely.
stay busy all night till I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, you have honey holes that you know that they're going to pay off, right? So to me, right before the pandemic hit, um, my utilization rate went down to 40s. Well, figure it out, 85 to 40, meaning I'm just sitting there twiddling my fingers, right? I'm not doing anything. And so now
Do
I'm
you
out
think
there
do you
again.
think that do you think that had to do more with passengers being less or more than normal onboarding?
No, the passengers were actually, if you look at the history of Uber and Lyft, their passenger headcount has been steadily growing. Initially, it grew like on an exponential basis,
Right.
but the passenger count's still growing. However, they onboarded so many more drivers than they needed it, that because the name of the game is what? If Lyft was not in this picture, and if Lyft boys sold out to Travis when they offered him to get bought out, but they said, go F yourself, and then we don't want it, this problem wouldn't exist for anybody, for the drivers, because Uber would be a monopoly. Okay.
Right.
When Lyft showed up to compete with these guys, you know what? Look, this is a commodity business. This is not rocket science, man. What is the most important thing for both companies? How soon can we pick up this guy?
Yeah.
Right.
I had
And
that same discussion with somebody. I was like, you need to think about it this way. Uber's oversaturated the markets because that first time they can't provide a driver, or that it takes
yeah,
too long, they just lost a customer. And
absolutely.
people were like, no, they'll still come back. I'm like, no,
No,
they're
not,
done.
no,
If
I'm not. It's a commodity business, man. I'm trying to go from point A to point B. I don't care if Steve takes me, Sergio takes me. I don't care if Bob takes me. The important thing for me is how soon can I get picked up?
right, will they show up? Are they going to cancel? I mean, like,
Yeah, but then but with so many drivers around you all the time, yeah, you have no worries, right?
yeah,
So now that has changed, right? So the last 6 weeks, I'm out there, I'm driving. Okay, my rule of thumbs always has been, even if I knew where the passenger was going in the good old days, my rule of thumb is I will not drive more than a minute. I mean, more than a mile and more than 5 minutes to pick somebody up. That's it, period. I don't care if unless it's like a 3x surge on a 20-mile wide open freeway ride that I'm going to get $80, then I'll drive a few miles to pick you up.
right.
But now I turn my passenger app. No, unless they're like messing with me, because there's a high possibility of that. I don't see any cars around me, man. I'm like, okay, listen, man, I'm like in Santa Monica, okay? Santa Monica is where all the rides are. Going to LAX, going to Beverly Hills, going to
So
downtown.
so I wanted
There
to
is
ask you
no
that.
cars
Are
around
you
me.
not seeing any cars around you, or on the app are you not seeing any
On the
cars?
app, on the passenger app, I'm not seeing any cars other
So
than myself.
do you think that
Do you think
maybe
it's
like
true?
how you were saying that they, okay, the number you still, let's say it was 8 that they would
Yeah.
show. Do you think that they're only showing 4 now, maybe?
No, because no. Do you know why? Do you know why? Because I'm online, right? I'm seeing my car,
Right.
right? Okay.
Right,
So
because
I turn
you
the
can
app
take 2
on.
phones. Right.
Right.
Okay.
I have 2 phones. I've
Yeah.
always had 2 phone strategy. So I'm looking at it. Okay. Well, first of all, they're not going to match me with me if I order a ride, right?
You'd hope not.
Well, so, so now what I do is I go okay, I'm in Santa Monica. I set a ride to my house because it's in the database, right?
Mhm.
It, then it will price a ride for me without me obviously being as a driver. I'm online, but they're not going to match me with me. It was a pickup of 17 minutes. So I'm kind of thinking, well, I don't see any cars around me. So that means there are no cars around me. Why would be otherwise 17-minute pickup? If they're not truly, if they're faking me out, not showing me all the drivers around me like they used to, right? So there is no cars. I mean, otherwise I'd be picked up in 2 minutes instead of
Well,
17.
and that's why I asked though, like, I'm sure that you know, and that's correct. But like Harry was telling me how, there was longer wait times for inlet. He was getting more canceled cars coming to his house lately when he would call a car. So part of me wonders if, they're showing like less, and they're like, dude, everybody's unreliable right now. So let's at least make it sound like it's going to take a little bit, even though that guy's 3 minutes away.
Well, I think, I've over the last 6 weeks, I've probably done a couple hundred Uber rides, minimum amounts to get my quests, and maybe 70, 80 Lyft rides.
Okay.
I would be, okay, I mean, this is like, I would be in the middle of a ride with a passenger in the car. Okay. This happened this past weekend. I picked these two kids up on a $12 surge plus the CRB. They paid like $40 for a 3-mile ride. No joke. I made like 28 for a 3-mile ride. They're in the car. I have 8 minutes to drop them off. They're in Pacific Palisades somewhere. I get this ping with a $20 surge going from Santa Monica to LAX. So I saw it was LAX, and I said, I'm a decent person. I told the kids in the car, I said, excuse me, I got to make a phone call. They go, yeah, go ahead, because I usually don't make phone calls or take phone calls when I'm driving for safety reasons. And I called a lady. I said, listen, I have a passenger in the car. I have 8 minutes to drop them off, and it's going to take me literally 20 minutes to get to you. I know you're going to LAX. Would you please cancel the ride and order yourself another ride? Oh, he goes, you're so nice. Nobody does that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I go, listen, lady, I'm just trying to make you not late to your flight. That's all I'm saying. I would love to do your ride because I'm about to make $50, right? But she says, no. She goes, I ordered it. And he goes, the app said 35 minutes. So you're closer than whatever it was. I'm talking Santa Monica, bro. I'm not talking boondocks of, wherever it could be, right?
Right.
So there is a driver shortage. Okay. So when it comes to driving, summarizing for the driver, this is as good as it gets. This is as good as I've seen it. I've been out there for 6 weeks in a row. On Halloween, I made $65 an hour. This past weekend, okay, they lowered my quest from $20 to $250 to $20 to $40. 40, right? 90% drop, typical Uber. I still pulled in $56 an hour. Right? How am I doing it? Well, I'm doing it because I'm driving when there is demand. I know my honey holes. I know where to be, when to be. So if you want to be a driver, go get it. This is it to go get it. Even if you're a dummy and you just want to accept every ride and, figure out don't figure anything out. No brain power necessary. You'll make $25. You'll make $25, which is more than anything else you're going to get.
So let me ask you about that. So how much of your pay, because I know you and I both pre-pandemic, we had our strategies, we worked everything, but like how much of that pay is coming from the junk, the bonuses, even though they're not junk, because you need that money right now?
Absolutely. So I'll give you my breakdowns for this weekend because I knew you would ask me that, and I have them memorized. So in this weekend, I drove 10 and a half hours active, meaning passenger in the car. Online hours was 11. Because I don't drive, I don't turn my app on until I want the search ride that I want to get. I'm not going to sit with my app on there, just twiddle my fingers, hope that I get it right. Plus, I'm in such a busy area that I know the second I turn the app on, there's a lot of people question me. They go, you're a shill. I'm like, why am I a shill? Because look at your online hour, look at your active hour. There's no difference. That's because I'm a great driver. I go, because I wait patiently to turn my app on, because once I turn my app on, I know I'm driving for a couple of straight hours here, right? And then when I'm done with what I need to get, before the last ride is over, before I even pick up that last passenger, I turn my app off. No more rides. So I don't keep getting stacked with garbage that you're going to get stacked, right? So anyway, I was like, $595, 10 and a half hours, 11 hours online. My rides, my net fare for the rides out of the $595 was $400. So I was averaging $20 a ride, which is, I think, sick good, because every ride literally had surge on it. The quest was only $40, so it wasn't that much. But my CRBs, consecutive ride bonuses, which I squeeze with my destination filter strategy, I keep getting short ride after short ride, pump out short rides to keep getting 30 for every 3 rides. That was the rest of it. And then I got tipped. I had cheap passengers this weekend. I got tipped only $30. So out of the $600, let's say average it up from $595, $400 was net fares. 30 was tips, so that's $430. And to get to 600, 170 was my promotions with the CRBs, with the consecutive ride bonuses.
So if you had got no tips instead of the 30, and had there been no bonuses,
I would have made $400. I would have made $400 in 10 and a half hours. Right. Still not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. No.
So, but
I was never somebody to chase the bonuses, but I hear you, and I think that if I was doing rideshare again right now, I would absolutely be chasing them, because I think that's part of having you have to do it right now to make the money.
Yeah, more money. Yeah, I don't chase quests. Quests are for fools. I wasn't doing rides because I wanted to finish my 20 for $40, which is $2 a ride. That's not going to give me anything. I was there during the hours when there were 2 separate windows for me to work. I think it was from 3 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, where it was 3 for 30 consecutive ride bonus, right?
Okay.
That's $10 extra a ride.
Yep.
So think about this. With the quest, it's $12 extra a ride before I pick you up. If there is $5 to $8 surge, which there was always that I look for, that's $20 before I pick you up on each ride.
Right.
The ride is almost like inconsequential, really, right? So it's a matter of me thinking, what do I target here? Do I want to target just short? Do I want to target medium? You're right. So to me, the money's out there now. Go get it. If you're
which is crazy, because we know. I mean, you and I were just talking about how they're charging more. They're not paying any more rate, but yet there's more money to be made than there was pre-pandemic.
Hey, this 100%. This, we talked about the 60-21 at the start, right?
Yeah.
It's still 60-21, by the way. Nothing has changed.
Nothing changed. But there's bonuses, and that's helping.
Bonuses and the demand.
But you're also staying busy.
It's busy, man. I'm telling you, I could literally nonstop drive if I want to. It's just like the 14s and 15s, right? So the second part, the passengers, short couple of sentences. The passengers getting screwed. The prices are 100 to 150% higher. Lyft especially is screwing the passenger beyond my imagination, because, like I said, I price rides every time I stop somewhere, taking a couple of minute break to my house from the same pickup spot, same drop-off spot, exact same time. Uber would be like $60, Lyft would be like $120. And I go like, who the heck is riding Lyft? I don't know, but some fools are. Whatever it is, it's okay. The passenger is getting screwed. However, I have an article coming up next week. I talk to pretty much as I can talk to people, unless they want to flip their Facebook pages in my backseat. I pass out my cards. I ask them, I go, you do realize you're paying like almost double or more for this ride, right? They go, yeah, no problem. I go, well, this would have been this is like double of what you would have paid for a cab. He goes, what cab? He goes, last time I was in a cab, I was like 8 years old. I go, okay, well, don't you want to save money? Isn't this the idea, that you just shop between Uber and Lyft always, and then just kind of go whichever is cheaper, because we're both going to do the same thing? Cab is going to take you from A to B, and I'm going to take you from A to B. You want to save money. Unequivocally, all of them would say convenience trumps the price I'm paying, as long as they don't go any higher than what they are now.
Right.
They said, I'm okay with it. So, and it brings us at conclusion to the third leg of the table, which is Uber and Lyft and where they are, where they can go. Uber and Lyft got lucky because of the pandemic. There is no doubt in my mind. People may think I'm crazy saying this, but Uber and Lyft got so lucky because their execs were in a race to zero between the two of them. Now they didn't have the balls to raise the prices to the passengers to make money, because they haven't made a red cent since their inception, both of them. So now they're talking about profitability, but that's EBITDA profitability. So if people know what that is, that's earnings
Yeah,
before tax
it's
depreciation.
fake profitability.
It's not GAAP, it's EBITDA. So that's
Yeah.
like that's like, I don't want to say anything vulgar here, but it is what it is. So so to me, that's not profitability. Show me the money kind of a thing. The real money, the bottom line. Anyway, so now it did two things to Uber. It solidified its horrible business model of delivering food. Now Uber is the leader out of the blue, and hopefully they'll turn a profit. I doubt it because it's a very low margin business anyway. But on the rideshare side, the pandemic gave him the chance to raise the prices on the passenger to the level that they should have been pre-pandemic or all along.
Right.
So now,
and the passengers would have paid that pre-pandemic too. They could have done it in a much gentler way. They could have.
Yeah, they would have, but they wouldn't have gotten to the size, to the scale that they got with those prices. They had to hook them in. They had to hook them in with $10 for 10-mile rides.
Right.
And now, boom, now it's $30 for 10 miles. They go, I'm so used to it anyway. I'm just going to do it.
Right. I know that in the beginning they needed to oversaturate the market. I'm sure that a lot of my fares that were $40-$50, the rider in 2014 was paying like 15 or 20, and Uber was supplementing the rest.
Right.
So that's just how it was. But it's crazy to me that there's good money out there right now, and that people aren't moving from these delivery apps. They're not pivoting back.
Yeah, they're not.
And I don't get that, because I do know a lot of people who, you and I were, when we were talking about this last night, that that crushed it out in, obviously, first days of the pandemic. Everybody's making tons of money. People were scared. They were tipping big. They just wanted food.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to go out. But now, this much farther in, and with all those people onboarded, I don't know why the same people who pivoted away aren't saying, okay, I'm not making that anymore.
Yep.
I need to go back. I need to move back to rideshare. This is not.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're making the money I'm making, doing the food delivery, right?
Right.
They feel safer not having people in the car and potentially get sick. And to me, it makes sense. I mean, to me, I'm doing it just to write my articles and get the free cash as long as the party lasts.
But you're vaccinated, you're wearing a mask, you know
what though? I honestly, my reasons are, look, everybody's reasons are different for driving rideshare. Okay. Some people are retired, some people are bored, some people truly need the money.
Right.
My reasons are my own. However, as long as the cash is there, I'm gonna do it. Because I cannot say no to $60 an hour, $50 an hour. If it goes down to the levels of 30s, 40s, no mas. I'm done.
I fully agree with you, especially with the option of flex. I mean, that just that just is a life changer. I have my son. I'm a single parent 5 days a week. He's with me, and he's a teenager. So I don't need to be here with him all the time, but I need to juggle a lot of things in my world.
Well, that's what exactly what I'm doing. It fits my bill. If my son, he plays soccer, my daughter plays golf. If they don't have any engagements, I drive for 6, 8, 10 hours on a Saturday. Pick my spots. And
but if they needed you could call it a day. You could go home again. Flex allows that. So.
Oh yeah. Last Sunday he had a game. I didn't drive. I could have made more money, but I only drove for one day. This weekend, I'm not going to drive at all, right? So the flex part is great, but to me, that was never really that important, because flexibility is kind of meaningless to me, honestly, just for the fact that if you're driving between the hours of, it's quite flexible, wonderful. If you're driving between 10 a.m. after the rush hour is over and 2 p.m., I don't care about flexibility. You're not going to make any money. Right. Or if you're driving, if you're driving 12, let's say 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, you're not going to make any money. Yeah, it's flexible. I can turn my app on and sit on my couch for 6 hours without getting a ride. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like that kind of plays either way. But ultimately, I think.
But if it was gone, that would be a whole nother story too, though. And you wouldn't be doing this anymore, and neither would I.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you put me on a schedule with an Uber jacket and an Uber hat, there's no way that's happening.
Right. And hey, Sergio, you're taking every ride we give you, or else you're fired. And
I guess that will.
Here's the shifts you're going to work this week, and like, I don't want to be your employee.
Yeah, like they did in New York, right? Like they did in New York. Yeah, they did that in New York, and that did not work out that well for the drivers. So to me, the most important thing is show me the money, I will drive for you. One. Secondly, the passengers are getting screwed, but I don't see anybody quit driving or riding Uber or Lyft anytime soon, because it's like Starbucks. They're so addicted to it now. I think. Yeah. It's too late. It's too late.
The only real complaints I see about these high rates anyway are on like Saturday mornings from hungover people that don't realize what they spend going home. So I'm not even sure that it's like that it's anything out of the norm for them. They're just mad that they see a $150 Uber ride.
Yeah. Well, the drivers don't. You know what? The passengers who have been in my car. I was really apprehensive of driving again, because are they going to wear their masks? Are they going to be a-holes? I'm like, I don't know, because of the high prices, right? I swear to God, I mean, like 198 out of 200 of them probably were wearing masks before they got in the car. They were cordial. They were tipping on top of these ridiculously high prices, which I thought tips would be zero, because, I mean, I did it right on Halloween. The kid was going, he went. I put it on the RSG with an article.
I have it up right now. I drove for Halloween 2021. Yep. Did I get tricked or treated?
Yeah, I got treated really well.
Right. So, I see $60 an hour. So
yeah, you can't beat that.
No, I mean, dude, if you can't, I mean, like, honestly,
that's almost plumber money.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna. That's almost master plumber money.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's like.
And it was so easy. I mean, it was so easy. I was like, this can't be real. This is just ridiculous. So you want to drive? Go out there and drive now. Yeah. Passengers, subsidized Fantasyland is over. So, yeah. So nowadays you got to pay. And as far as Uber and Lyft are concerned, if they do these two following things, okay, which is keep the prices where they are, or maybe lower it a little bit just to give the passenger the sense of, oh, look, the prices are going down again. And bleed the driver to death again, meaning cut all those CRBs, cut all those quests. Well, according to you, they cannot lower the mileage. I don't know if anything is possible.
Well, I mean, who's going to be driving though?
Well, that's the problem.
I mean, like you've already said, there's a lack of drivers now. If you chop it down more, who's going to do this?
But look at pre-pandemic. They were falling on top of each other for 60 cents a mile. So who knows?
But here we are, and like when Harry was on, we talked about PUA, and did that have an effect? All that's over now, and nobody came back.
Yeah, but stupid is stupid, man. You can't teach stupid, because there were tons of people driving at 60 cents a mile. And I was like, who would be driving? Who would be doing that? And there are people, sorry about the movement for a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there were enough people out there at 60-21, because the rates were 60-21 pre-pandemic. So
I just think it must be something different, because they're not coming back at that rate.
Well, I thought when the PUA ended, which was start of September for everybody, for all the ICs, independent contractors, PUA ended start of September. Well, we're in November. It's 3 months. Right. You would have thought there'll be drivers at every corner driving just like before.
And
right?
there's people quitting their traditional jobs
Yeah.
because they don't want to do that. They don't want to go in anymore. They got used to home and now they're like, wait, but that's not going to pay me. And they're onboarding. So
Yeah.
where are these people? Like, where are the drivers?
Well, the drivers,
I mean,
I think
are they all doing food delivery and just stacked
no,
on each other?
no, I don't think they are. You know what? You know what happened though? The pandemic obviously helped Uber and Lyft, but what it also did was psychologically, to a great degree, um, forced basically. Forced. It was forced. I mean, nobody wanted the pandemic. Nobody knew it was coming. It forced the reset button of in a lot of people's lives, saying that who were in a grind day in and day out, doing the same shit that they hated.
Right.
And now they go, you know what? I'm more valuable than this. I rather suffer, but I rather suffer without beating myself to a pulp and my car to a pulp.
Right.
So they figured it out that I'm not worth $12 an hour. I'm worth maybe 15 an hour without driving. And they're
Right.
looking for it. And maybe they did, the savings rate in the country, because my background is Wall Street. So I look at a lot of things, and the savings rate in the country is through the roof. People saved a lot of the money. Unlike we would have thought they would spend it on TVs and iPhones, they saved a lot of the money. So they're eating on their savings. Now, what happens 6 months from now? I don't know. Because at the moment, right before the pandemic, I thought desperation was there and people were just driving to make ends meet, to make 50, $80 a day. That's it. That was it. Now things have changed. So going back to Uber and Lyft, if they keep the prices as high as they are, or maybe a little bit lower on the passengers, and if they can lower the driver pay without bonuses, like get rid of all the bonuses, get rid of all the CRBs, not get rid of the surge, but get rid of all the bonuses.
Yep.
Is the driver, that's when the real test is going to come in, because both companies need to make money. They have, in the old days, they were in private hands. They were spending money like drunken sailors to get as many people on board, as many passengers as they can, and which they did. They did a great job of that. They created a massive scale. And that scale only disappeared because of the pandemic, but it's coming back now as strong as ever I've seen it before. If they can keep the prices high, lower all these incentives on the drivers, what is the driver going to do? Is the driver going to go back to fighting for crumbs on the Uber and Lyft table? Or are they going to go, you know what, go F yourself. I'm not driving, and create the shortage that's going to be lasting for a long, long, long period of time? Because Uber's and Lyft's hope is that, they're playing a dangerous game here, and they know it. They're burning the candle on both ends. So we're going to charge the passengers what we should have always charged.
Right.
And let's say passengers are used to it and nobody drops Uber and Lyft app from their phones. They keep using it, okay? But then now you have the driver who, I think in those 2 years that they were off, are a little smarter. They figured out, you know what? I don't have to do this. And that's the big unknown when it comes to Uber and Lyft, because Uber's I listened to both of their conference calls after their earnings came out. Lyft said, yeah, the drivers are back by 45% or more. I'm like, yeah, but from where to what? Right? And Uber said the same thing. Yeah, drivers are coming back. I go, well, drivers are only coming back is because you're paying them $3,430. You cut that $3,430 down to $3,410. Guess what? You lost me. Number one, you lost me as a driver. And how many more people are like me? So my thing is now, I'm going to put that out. Try to keep putting that out there. I go, man, join my club. I'm part of a show me the money club. You show me the money. You show me the money. I turned the ignition on. You don't show me the money. The car's sitting in the garage. I have better things to do. Right. So we'll see. And I honestly, though, I think they're on their way to profitability. There is a good friend of mine, Gabe, who writes for RSG as well. He goes, Sergio, they're never going to make any money. I go, Gabe, do you see what they're charging some of these passengers? And none of these people are complaining. When a guy paid $30 for a 0.9 mile ride on Halloween, when you're looking at it, and he didn't even tip me, for God's sakes, man. And I was like, Who would pay $30 for a 0.9 mile ride? I mean, think about this. And I said, why'd you do it? He goes, I can't call a cab. I go, why not? He goes, it'll take you like 45 minutes. I called you and I ordered a ride. You were here in 3 minutes. And then I'm at my bar having a drink already. By the time cab showed up, who knows when it's going to show up? And I was like, man, there's a point right there. But, and I know he's going to a bar to drink on Halloween. And I know each drink is $20 anyway. So the $30 he paid for the ride was like nothing to the guy. So I'm like, I think Uber has this figured out and Lyft has this figured out. I think the passengers definitely, you know, their excuse was there's a shortage of drivers. That's why you're waiting longer. And that's why we're charging you more. When the shortage of driver ends, everything's going to go back to what it was before. 100% guarantee from me to you. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Prices for passengers are not going to go back to what they were before.
No, because then they'll never have the opportunity to bring it back up either. Nope. Plus why would they?
Why would they? I mean, you're charging the, you know,
I mean, for the first time you're actually in a window of there is a forecastable road to profit.
Yep.
But if you screw around with anything and start cutting those rates back or giving free rides and all the crap,
not going to happen.
Right, all that'll change immediately and go right back to where it was.
Their stocks are going to get smashed, and then all these institutional shareholders, you know, their stocks have been out for close to 3 years now, and both of them. Lyft is down 30% from its IPO level. Uber is exactly where it was. So if you're an institutional shareholder holding their stocks, you didn't make any money. Well, you got to push these guys to profitability. You got to make some money. And the only way to make money was to raise the prices. Okay, you got to accomplish that part. The second part was get your hold rates up. Instead of holding 20%, you got to hold 50%. Well, they got there too, because every single time I do a ride, I look at the receipt, Uber is making as much or more than me. I'm like, okay, I'm not complaining because I'm making $60 a ride. Imagine how much money I would make if they only took 25%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So okay, let's not complain about that until I need to complain about it. But now, you know, the only thing they can do to increase that hold rate would be to cut all the incentives to the driver. I don't know if they can do it. I don't think people will go out and drive for free any longer.
I just don't. I you know, as much as I would love it, I just don't ever see them cutting the games out anyway.
I don't think so.
It's just part of the. Even I feel like it's just torture to us. Even if like it's not helping in any way, they're just like, you hate that, don't you? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, it's staying.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I hate that. Yeah. Because if you figured out that the government gives you a 57-cent deduction for your mile and you're only pulling in 60, it's gonna take a lot
or like you said, it's gonna go under it.
Yeah. LAX is 30 cents a mile, man. I will never pick up at LAX in my life again, even if I'm losing a 1,000 CRB. I could not believe that rate card. 30 cents a mile out of LAX.
So yeah, so I gotta ask about that. Like with the lack of drivers in LA as it is, like you're describing, who is over at LAX taking these rides? If you can be in LA getting good rides.
Yeah, but you know what's happening now at LAX though? Like the old days that we used to figure it out, we would be in the holding lot, everybody would turn their apps off, right?
Yeah.
And create Surge. You know, I wrote something like pre-pandemic called the Surge Club. You know, that existed, by the way. You know, the drivers in Washington, Dallas did it. It works because my app is off. So now, every time I look at the LAX map, there is 8, 10, 12, 20, 30, sometimes Surge going on at LAX, nonstop.
Right.
In the old days, it would be base rate. Now there's Surge going on. So yeah, you're getting 30 cents a mile, but you do a ride with a $20 surge. That's the difference. That's just kind of the recovery. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that are doing it out of LAX.
Yeah, but it's like, gosh, I hope I get that high surge so that I make what I'm supposed to on this ride where I could be just making that over there.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
I mean,
it doesn't make sense to do rides at LAX. It really doesn't.
right. I mean, I do know that, and I'm sure you know this too, and you've dealt with it, but I do know that there is a group of people who live at the airport. You know, they
Yep,
just, I mean,
literally in their
yeah, I
cars.
mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, I know that you're familiar probably with, you know, the phone charging system where you can like leave a phone and go
Yeah.
out and do other runs. Well, over here, there were some people live our geo fencing for Uber and Lyft at DIA holds 350 cars.
Okay.
So that's a pretty big geo fence. And
Yep.
then there's bathrooms in the corner of each one, obviously. Um, and then there's these like buses and RVs in the back that should not be in there at all. You're not supposed to pull through, and then they do come through once in a while, but these things are just back there parked. And I did, you know, I there was a time a while back when people were living in their cars there, yes, and there were articles being written up about it, but there was a time around the phone charging thing when people were having their kids watching movies in their car, and then when they did get a ping, they were leaving them in this like in RVs with other parents.
Oh my God. No, we never got that bad at
I mean,
LAX.
it was like this sketchy homeless encampment that would like watch your kids.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was just disgusting to me. I was like, dude, seriously? Like,
There is a great documentary, by the way, that's out that I could highly recommend. It's called The Gig Is Up. It's a documentary about the gig economy and what's going on and how unfairly these, all the gig economy. I mean, I'm not talking about just rideshare now.
right.
They're being treated and how these companies, treat them like yesterday's newspaper, basically. It's a good thing to watch. It's an eye opener. And the sad thing is, um, look, just like I said, maybe towards the halfway of the podcast or interview, I'm there for me. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so are these two companies. I
Right.
mean, people have to realize this. They are there for them and their shareholders, and they make money. And how are they going to make money? They have to deal with the driver until the driverless cars show up. So I look at it as where, how could the driver situation get better? Well, I honestly, I don't see it getting too much better. It gets better because pandemic happens. There's a driver shortage, and for a short period of time, you're going to make $50 an hour. But how long is that going to go? I don't know. I hope it goes forever because yes, I'm making what I used to make in 2015. But yes, a lot of dummies who turn the app on and drive aimlessly all over the place for 12 hours, they're also making double of what
Right.
they used to make. And I hope for them, not for me. I hope for them because I will make more money than anybody anyway, but that's not the issue because I am not the majority.
I'm the same way. I used to just my goal was to crush it,
Yeah.
just to know where to be. People, I mean, not to tell others. You know what I mean? Like I was that was one of the first things I was trained. Don't tell people your fishing spots.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't do it. Like
I mean,
I mean,
it's
it
a
makes
trade
total
secret.
sense, but like I'd be leaving like if the Broncos game was letting out, I'm
Yeah.
going over to like Englewood to pick up the bar scene that
Yep.
watched the games at
Yep.
bars, let that all die out, and then about 2 hours after, go drive by because it'll still be surging and I'll get one out of there. I mean,
Yep.
there's so much strategy in this that everybody I know is like, oh, the game's out. I'll just go. I'm turning on and going over there. I'm like, dude, that's the dumbest thing you can do. There's traffic everywhere. Cops are yelling at you. You're never going to find them. They're drunk. It's night.
Yeah. Go join the ants. Yeah. I
There's
mean,
80,000 people wandering around. What are you talking about? It's this
yeah.
dumbest move ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's besides that, you and I and maybe a few drivers in every city are the minority. They are truly pros. They know what they're doing, and they're always going to make more money. And maybe their competitive spirit forces them to do this. But everybody right now, for one reason or another, is making more money. Even the amateur, even the newbie, they're all making money
You know,
more than before. I'm not saying that they are, when Uber and Lyft advertise saying that, oh, in some cities, drivers are making $35 an hour. And I'm like, it's true on active. So if you put online, let's say they're making 30. Well, that's double what was before. So people are making money.
I gotta ask you about this, because this is crazy. I mean, before I let you go, I have to ask you about this, because so I get an offer, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, that if there's always the referral and you could refer to people, but now there's the referral of, if you've been not deactivated, if you've been inactive on the platform for a certain amount of time. Here it's 6 months. I just saw the special come through. It said if you can also re-onboard people with this special, and if they haven't drove in 6 months. That's me right now. Okay, I haven't done that. So, but here's my point. Right now, 130 runs in Denver, $3,400 guaranteed.
Oh, great money.
So can I refer myself? Because I got 2 emails. I got one that said, you haven't drove in 6 months, you can be re-onboarded. And then right behind it, I got, hey, sign somebody up. You get 800, they get 34.
I don't know the answer to that.
So I'll make $4,200. I'll just refer myself.
I don't know that, but I don't know. That one I don't know. I haven't, you know what? I hadn't even heard of that, but I'll tell you what I did. They sent my wife, who hates rideshare, they sent my wife this offer. And she drives a Bolt, electric Bolt. Okay, this is the truth. Lyft sends her a bonus. Okay, you're sitting down for this one now? Okay. 5 rides, 5, single, 5, for $500 bonus. You just have to sign on and do it. Guess who signed her up? I did, and they paid me $200 for it.
Right, but this is even weirder though, because I'm getting 2 emails that make it, and I looked. There's nothing that says you can't refer yourself.
The worst you can do is try.
I mean, I was just trying to figure out, do I have to call them and like say,
no, don't call them.
Right. I mean, but I don't know where to, I am not sure I'd see, because right now if I turn on, it's just active. So where do I put in the referral code if I'm
How long will it take you to knock out 120 rides? A week?
Well, this is 130 rides.
Okay, you can knock that out in a week.
4 days.
Okay, there you go. There's your $3,400.
Right, but I want both. I want the 800 for referring myself.
Forget that
and
one.
The 3,400 for.
I'm telling you, find a friend. Find a friend who's not on, and they'll be happy. You'll be happy. They'll never get on the platform again. I mean,
I know. I literally just want to test it, though.
That's crazy. Bro.
I just want to see if I can refer myself and see what the hell happens.
They'll catch you and they'll deactivate you.
Why? I mean, I just was trying. I'd be like, I had 2 emails, and you.
Well, the algorithm messed up on that one. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't gotten any of those. I would have probably tried it, but I did my wife's, and I told her, I go, okay, this is what we're gonna do. She goes, I hate this. I go, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set your DF from here to the mall. And it wasn't like in one day. She had a month to do this. So I go, you're gonna do 1 ride from here to the mall, a shorty, and then you're gonna say your DF from the mall to the house. You're gonna do 1 more shorty, so that's 2. In 3 days, we will finish. You get your 500 again. She got her 500 cash. She goes, oh my God, how are these companies making money? I go, well, they're not making money. This is exactly why they're not making money. They're spending stupid money on marketing instead of keeping their good drivers like me, you, and paying us the decent fare so we can work. They go do this kind of garbage, and then they go, oh yeah, we have marketing costs. I'm like, yeah, because you're not paying anybody anything. You pay them a little bit more than crumbs. Maybe, they'll stick around for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But
Sergio, I really, really appreciated this conversation today. I mean, it really kind of it rewound my whole history with rideshare. I mean, I haven't even really I've thought about it, but I haven't even thought about like getting in the car and the daily routine of cleaning and all the things I used to go through in a while. I mean, it's just been external, but I really appreciate this conversation because, people should hear this, like I've been saying, get out there and drive again, because I think, I've talked to people in Philly, I've talked to people in other cities too, where they're like, no, same kind of story as you, maybe not exactly, but they're doing good. I mean, so,
I mean, you have
it
to
was like
think,
a trip down memory lane, and it reminded me of all the things I hated, all the
you know
things
what,
I
though?
actually do miss about it though. Like you said, like I do like driving. I do like,
No, I so do I. But if the money wasn't there, not in a million years, I would have done it. But
no,
to me, it's like, okay, if I can make $600 a weekend by just fooling around and write an article about it, make some more money on that, and then put that in my daughter's college fund so she doesn't come out with like $500,000.
right.
Keep doing it. And the second my income goes down anywhere below 45, $48 an hour, I'm done. And sayonara again until the good days show up again. But for everybody that's out there that's listening, if you ever thought about doing rideshare, ever, this is it. And that comes from me as a pro, and I am a massive driver's advocate. I could not care less.
Me too. I mean, you and I think that's why Harry, because Harry, I can't remember who else it was. You'll know probably. He asked me. He said, "Do you want to?" Because he was like, "I'm going to be gone. Do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to Sergio or to?" And he said somebody else, and I was like, I don't know, whoever works with, and he's like, "You should talk to Sergio." I think he just like labeled me. Like, I was like, whatever, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I mean,
you and I both like, we're cool with Harry. So I know there was nothing mean meant there. I could
no,
tell he was like, yeah, you guys think the same.
yeah. Well, I hope I met your expectations, and like,
No, you did, and
I call it the way I see it. I'm East Coast a little bit, so to me, it's like, I'm a capitalist. I have no problem Uber and Lyft making billions in dollars. I have zero problem because a lot of other companies do the same thing, but they treat the people who got them there decently. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for give me stock options that I can make $1 billion that you just made. We're
right.
asking for, man, pay these people decently, and they're good, hardworking people. They're driving for you. Without them, you wouldn't be there. I just appreciate that and pay that. And you will, they will save so much money on this marketing that they spend on, because they have to onboard 80% of their driver base every 6-8 months.
Right.
Why? Just keep the people happy, have them drive for you, period. Save all the marketing money, charge the passengers more, save all the billions of dollars in marketing that you have to find these new suckers to get on the system, right? Because people will do it. I mean, it's a decent living. If you make $25 an hour, take your cost out, you make $20 an hour driving people around, people will do it. But when you give me 60 cents a mile, bro, you wake up, it's not going to happen. So,
But then again, the reason that it got that low was because people were still signing up.
yep. Well,
I
they
mean,
were.
obviously, a company like Uber would have made a turn if they started whittling it down that far, and they're like, wait, now nobody's onboarding.
Yeah, nobody's onboarding. And when Harry interviewed the Uber CEO, he goes, "Oh yeah, our driver count is up 5%." I go, "That ain't gonna be enough, buddy."
Right.
That
And
ain't gonna
that's another thing. 5% from what? Zero? Because they had no rideshare
Yeah,
drivers.
5%. Yeah, 5%. Not 5% from pre-pandemic levels. 5% when they hit rock bottom during the depths of the
Right.
pandemic.
So like there was two drivers on the streets of
Yeah,
LA, and
I came back. Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
right, and so they added another 1/100th of a car.
Yeah. No, that's not going to cut it. So but I wish the drivers the best, honestly, and I hope they go educate themselves. That's the most important thing, because if you look, I did this math with with like a town hall I did through RSG. I said, okay, who makes $20 an hour here? And who works, let's for example, 20 hours a week? Like mostly, I would say 70% hands were raised, right? I go, if I can show you, we're still going to drive, we're going to still do the same thing, we're still going to pick up, we're still going to drop off, we're still going to put gas, we're still going to change tires, nothing is changing. So if I can show you, okay, just to do certain simple strategic moves, not what I do, but like common sense, no-brainer stuff. And if you can raise your income from 20 to 25, we're not going from 20 to 80, $5 more an hour, doing the exact same thing, which will give you an extra $100 because you drove 20 hours a week. Would you do it? They all go, no, that's just too much thinking. I can't think. The app, the app is too fast. The ping is only 8 seconds. And I'm like, I go, well, I can't do more than that. I'm telling you that you can make an extra $100 doing exactly what you were doing before. Wake up, put the gas in, clean your car, turn the app on, pick it up, drop it off. Same thing, except that quick little adjustments you need to make. It's too much thought for the money anyway. I'm like, okay, I gave up. I give up. I can't do it. I'm like, okay. So people are people, man. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're happy where they are.
Right. But, and I guess the last takeaway that I'll say that from today I'm taking too is that, and I already was thinking it, but it is time for drivers that pivoted out to pivot back in.
Absolutely.
Like how you're saying that it is a good time to re-enter the space right now. And that also means like, dude, if you did rideshare for 6 years and you loved it like we do and actually enjoy it, like, okay, your time doing deliveries over. Switch back, man, because those delivery apps, they already seem bogged down to me. I don't understand how people are, and the way they work, like being able to drop an order after you've picked it up. I mean, some of the most unprofessional stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's another podcast, because that delivery side of the business is another ridiculous.
Well, that's what I'm saying. All these rideshare drivers went over, come back.
Yeah. Well, I think if they do come back, see, that's what they figured out. What they figured out through the pandemic is that, I can go to food delivery, make as much money or maybe a little bit less, but without risk to my health. And now when they come back and make double what they're making delivering food, right? Even with some risk if they're vaccinated. I think now that's the thing that I was talking to you about, they were forced to push the reset button. They figured I have another choice here. And I have, now I come back to rideshare. Okay, I'm not making enough money. Now I'm going to go back to food delivery. I'm going to make the same crummy money I'm making, but at least I'm not taking any risks and I'm not driving as much. So, as much as pandemic helped Uber and Lyft, it also helped the drivers to wake up. Wake up. There's another choice. If not, you know what? These gig apps, whatever apps you want to call it, there's so many these days.
Yeah.
From walking a dog to now there is one for kids now, kids Uber, and now one is coming out that I know of for delivering pets. And I'm like, listen, man, there's so many of these things. You can make that same $12 crummy dollars you were making doing rideshare, dealing with strangers and drunks by delivering kids or alcohol now. Or now, Uber bought this company that delivers alcohol, or you can deliver pot now. I mean, so people were, before, they were like horse with blinders. They didn't know what was out there. The pandemic said, okay, man, you know what? You can make the same 12 crummy dollars here by driving a lot less. Deliver food. Food is going to yell at you. They're not going to rate you that badly. And you're going to get more tips. Or now the kids, or now the this, or the deliver alcohol now. All these things are out there now. And the drivers right now should go back to rideshare, take the money, right, while it's there. And then if it falls back to what it used to be pre-pandemic, then go back to what they were doing before with less risk and less driving.
Exactly.
So,
but especially like with the bonus I was saying, even if it's not that, because that's huge. But I mean, like, honestly, all you have to do is look around your areas. There's bonuses going on. Find a bonus and re-sign up. I mean, let's
Yep,
if you haven't
exactly.
drove in 6 months, you can re-sign up again now and get a
100%.
bonus.
100%. 100%.
So,
So that's it. Show me the money, baby.
yeah. Sergio,
Show
thank
me.
you for your time. I really did appreciate this.
You're welcome.
I think it was a good piece. So thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You as well.